Hello.
Hello.
It's good to see you, Jolly.
Ah, it's nice to be seen. It's nice to see you too.
What led us here? What led to this moment?
Hmm. I think in some ways this moment has been a long time coming for me. I feel
For me
like
too.
I feel like it's a combination of a lot of work that I've been doing on myself, a lot of self-reflecting, and yeah, just given the chance to be open and grow a bit.
Mm.
What what about you?
Yeah. Well, it was a conversation that we had in December that
Mhm.
led to this. That was a similar format, very unintentional. This is very unintentional today. Like, we prepared for this. We thought about this for the last week.
Hmm.
We met today. Like, we were both looking forward to this today, but what led to this was our need to talk from a vulnerable state, be true to ourselves as men, and have vulnerable conversations with each other that are maybe helping others as well. And we will get into that. But
Hmm.
like, what led to this moment for me, I tried to think about this for a while. Like how can I keep myself accountable, like more? And I had a few instances where I had conversations with someone where I said to them, "This is what I want to do," and all of a sudden it became more real. And I
Hmm.
think this is what we're trying to do here. It's like to have an exchange where we go a little bit deeper than the normal conversation that you have over coffee goes. Maybe it's also a little bit harder,
Yeah.
a little bit more dangerous,
Hmm.
but have like an exchange that maybe also not just helps us, but also helps other people as well.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot that in conversation, even if people are just around you,
Mm.
if you open up and are vulnerable and just and don't have any weight to it, if you just give it to the conversation, people listen, people stop. I've noticed that having conversations even outside, there's that moment when you notice that someone has kind of joined the conversation, maybe just watching or
Yes,
listening.
yes, yes. It's beautiful.
It's
It's
a nice
beautiful.
moment.
It's beautiful. So let's give ourselves in the future and also whoever might see this
Mm.
at some point a little bit of context. Like, who are you? How do you, like, what do you use as labels to describe yourself in this world? Like, to show up and to, like, how do you describe your identity?
Mm. I actually had a lot of trouble with this. I've been thinking about this a bit, and so let's start from the beginning. My name's James John Jolly, and I think the thing that people most associate me with is the thing that I found eventually is what I settled on.
Mm.
Who am I? How do I introduce myself? What labels do I have? I think I'm an artist.
Mm.
And it's wild to go 13 years into something and still be like, I think this may fit me, maybe, like this. I had a few thoughts backwards and forwards. I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to live in a divergent way. And I was like, I wanted to ask questions. And I was like, they all came comfortably back to being an artist, I think.
I, um, I felt that the first time I met you, to be honest. Like, there was like no doubt about it. Like, I'm like, I don't know what this guy does, but he's an artist. Like, yes.
And when how do I explain myself? What labels do I use? It's always nice to meet people and they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm an artist. And they're like, oh, that
Yes.
explains all of this.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah, yeah.
like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Yes.
that'll do.
Yeah.
And I also say I'm a teacher.
Mm.
And there's a bit of like imposter syndrome here, particularly around age and things like this. But then I always think, I teach young kids and I learn from them all the time. And they
Mm.
don't care about their age. They just
Mm.
teach naturally.
Mm.
And I think I love the expression, everyone can teach you something. But I've been thinking more about it recently. And I'm like, damn, that's so like no, everyone can teach you so much stuff, people are wonderful. There's so many things every single person can teach you.
Yes. Do you still use the label fighter for yourself? I know that you used to fight.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of hardness with men, and particularly on first encountering someone. I think I want to bring more softness to the encounter, particularly the initial thing.
Do you feel like a fighter though?
I think, yeah, even the way I stand, I notice sometimes I like bend my knees. I'm standing in a wider posture. There's just things you settle into and and you notice it.
Yes. So what do you use it for yourself still?
Yeah, it's great for discipline. It's great for confidence.
Yeah.
Walking around, I think I've walked places and stood in places with confidence I would not have had.
Yes. Let's reframe the question then. What labels do you use for yourself to describe your identity?
Okay.
Because then you make it a little bit less about other people and how they perceive you.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because people are mirrors in some respects, and you want to validate you and your experiences through other people. But there should be a core thing here. I think I love questioning things. I think that's one of the absolute cornerstones of who I am. So question things, understand them. I love
scientist almost.
Yeah, really picking things apart, whether it be intellectual or spiritual or kind of anything in any realm. I like the questions in life. I think that's one of the labels that I would definitely hold to the tightest. What about you? How do you introduce yourself?
So I'm Florian. I am an athlete. I'm a designer. I'm trying to be a brother. I'm learning that. I want to become better at that. I am a father without kids. That's something that I thought about for the first time this week when I thought about this question. It's father without a partner and without kids. I'm a lover. I'm a friend. When I say athlete, I identify a lot with cycling. A lot of the closest people to me are cycling with me, and it's much more than just a way to get around. But the athlete thing is, I've been carrying this around for a long, long time to move my body. By now it's just different venues. By now it's a lot in the gym, and there's a slight identity also to it. But it's more working on your body, not working on it, but utilizing your body, being active is a big part of my identity. I support people at work. I'm a manager. I work in tech. I'm trying to become better at that as well. And first and foremost, I am a man in, by now I need to say early 40s because it's around the corner. I need to say that, but I'm a man who's trying to figure out how to do this thing in life. How to purify my heart, how to leave no mark in the world instead of what I thought in my 20s, and then I need to leave a lot of marks. And by now I'm feeling, no, actually, if I do the opposite, it will be great. I'm just trying to figure that out. So that's a little bit about my identity.
I feel people often feel powerless in this world, and I feel it's the analogy that I always use is if you smile and walk down the street and 2 people smile because of you and they make 4 people smile in their day, there's so much power.
Poking the universe. Huh?
Yeah. You could just be like, oh, hey.
Yeah. Why? So let's finish this intro a little bit by talking about why are we passionate about this? Why is this important to you? Specifically.
Big topic. I think it's kind of, there's a bit of duality into it. One is helping myself.
I know, yes.
God, I've spent so much time looking at other people and trying to be something in their eyes, or looking for someone to try and, but now I'm become the person that I want to be. Become the person you'd want to date.
Yeah,
become that human being. People will come.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yes.
And I think the other side is, I think men have an interesting space in today's world. And by interesting, I mean very difficult for a number of different reasons. And I think I'd like to add to that conversation. I think, I've always been passionate about it. You know, there's a lot, there seems very little space to be a man these days. And I find that, there was a quote that someone used, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, this woman said it, she's like, I'm not going to define a role for women, because by defining a role, I'm being hugely reductive for so many people. Like, whatever role that person makes is their role. And so there, I want that space. I want a huge amount of space to men to exist in. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel free to express so many different things so we can flourish.
We're not doing that a lot.
No.
It's like there's not a lot of forums for that.
No.
I know.
What about you?
I had like an insane year of growth where I was able to tap into a lot of things that like affecting my well-being, and I grew quite a bit last year, especially in the second half of the year. And I am very grateful that therapy exists. That very grateful for my interactions with my therapist, like, because things just happen, and we will talk about like how they happen and like what leads to them. But what I realized my purpose in life is, and how I will feel that I'm being put to good use, is that I want to help other men to have similar transformations. Because there was a long time when I looked for what will I do when I turn like 60 and beyond. Like, do I still want to work in tech?
Yeah.
I love my job. I absolutely love my job. I love the people I work with. I can be passionate about it. I'm not checked out, but I also know that I will not do this for the next 10 years. And I thought a lot about like, what do I want to do? And what do I actually feel fire for? And I said earlier, it's like, I feel like a father without kids. And this comes from quite a lot of interactions that I had, not just recently, but over time, and what fuels me. And I realized that I want to help children grow up with present fathers. This like fuels me like a lot. Like, I want them to grow up in environments where men can be present. I know from my own experience that for most parts of my life, I wasn't present in my life. Like, I was there, I was participating.
Yeah.
I was physically there, like, but like sometimes I was not there. And that showed up in my relationships. It showed up in my interactions towards myself. And I felt only in the last year that I truly tapped into like what life can be. That it can be light and beautiful and like nourishing, and like you can feel spacious, and you can actually also go into difficult conversations or in difficult interactions with a way of being that makes everything better. And I all of a sudden realized that me being like a father figure without necessarily having kids, it energized me, and I felt like other people around me were getting better. Like, I could benefit others more by being present. And I know that men are not talking enough about what they are going through, because lots of reasons, and we will get at some point into that. But like, we are just not there yet, that we have formats. And we talked earlier about like the eavesdropping in of people when like they're like, what's going on over there? And we had like an interaction right here where other people were like, why are they talking quite openly about sex? And and other people are like, this is kind of want to be in there, but also not in there. But I think it helps people to get an understanding that A is normal, maybe helps other people to, like, this is what I'm passionate about, is like helping men. This is like generally what I will do over the next 10, 20 years. Like I know I will do this. I don't know in which capacity yet, but I know I will do
You
this.
will.
Yes.
I have faith in this too. Like, no doubt.
I will. And like, this is one way of starting that explorations without quitting my job. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to dive full on into like something and do a black and white switch. I think there's a lot more ways to help others without necessarily going full force into something. And I think having this conversation, so our idea here is to have a heartfelt conversation every 4 weeks, checking in with each other, having one part that is quite like where we both roughly know what's going on. Like we have a topic for today, which is like the beginning of our journey. And then the second part is a little bit less directed by one person. So like today I will facilitate something for you that you're absolutely not prepared of. And will be a little bit like will be very intimate for both of us because we don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then we will check at the end of the session, we will talk about like, what do we want to achieve until the next 4 weeks? A big piece of that is like comes back also to my motivation. I want to hold myself accountable. Me saying this to you is like a big lever.
Yeah.
It's a small added lever to put it out there. Actually, it's quite big. I'm lying. It's like no. It's like, because that also means that our closest friends like are aware of this, and potentially also other people who don't even know that. But like the biggest leverage for me is to really speak openly about like, what do I want to achieve until the next 4 weeks? I might need some help to figure things out as well. And then us checking in 4 weeks and being like, so you said you will do X, and what happened there? And then also being able to say like, well, I fucked that one up. Or like, because this is not a self-help. I would like, you get up at 4 a.m. every day and like, fuck that. It's more, it should be natural and raw. And I'm really...
And filled with failure, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm
a big failure.
Oh man. But that's a beautiful space. Like people have, I think it's drilled in us from school that failure is wrong.
Yes.
It's like, and if you're not prepared to fail, then you don't move forward. So you don't grow, you don't learn. So like all these people who are very glamorous about, I did all this and I'm super this and that. And you're like, you want to see the real stuff. You want to see the falls, the stumbles.
Yeah, I'm happy to show that. So what talking about like the faults and like, how do we show up for each other in 4 weeks when we both are busy, unmotivated? We feel maybe we can stand each other for a little bit because of whatever reason. You need to travel, I need to travel, whatever. Like, what is the minimum thing that we're going to do in 4 weeks to keep this somehow alive?
I think check in with one another. I think that will be the most important thing. And then just the goals, check in how we're doing now, how
so we're going to record it though. We need to record it.
I think so. Yeah, I think consistency is key, and I think even those moments where we're like, oh, this week, this month, and I'm near zero, those kind of conversations, super helpful.
Okay. And the worst case where if we can't get together, we're going to do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to build like some, like if I don't want to go to the gym, I still go, but do one exercise and then leave.
Yeah.
I think to have like the minimum entry point. Otherwise we plan like maybe this goes on for like 2 hours today. And then next month is like really high pressure. So let's take out the pressure.
And it's that accountability, isn't it? It's you're turning up for yourself and for someone else, even in whatever capacity. I've had a lot of conversations with friends where they're like, oh, I'm not feeling it today. Or if I come, I'm not going to be in a good mood. And I say to them, listen, you can stay at home. You can do that. Your prerogative. You can come out. You don't need to be in a good mood.
No, we will not be in a good mood all the time.
Yeah.
It's actually a quite nice segment. Let's take maybe like 30 seconds
Mm-hmm.
and see what's alive in us right now. It's like what is an emotion, or what are emotions? What are current, like what is on your mind? Like
Mm.
what, maybe also present events, anything that
Mm.
is coloring the experience of today. So what's basically checking in, like let's take maybe 15, 20 seconds
Yeah.
and see what's going on.
Mm. Mm. I think the first thing that hit me was just excitement, actually. I'm really excited for this year. I feel like a lot of my 20s and the beginning of my 30s were just kind of very reactionary, like we were talking before, very much like surviving. And now I feel like I'm in a place where I can grow, I can settle, I can root down, I can kind of be conscious about my decisions. So what's in me now is excitement for the future.
Specifically this moment.
Yeah, I feel it now inside me, you know. I feel the excitement of like that's what's pulling me is this just excitement for the future.
Where is it in your body?
It's here, right here. Yeah, it feels good.
Anything else?
Bit of nervousness. Cameras and we have an interesting relationship. Whenever I stand in front of one, I did a photo shoot recently, and I looked at the photos, and I was like, my whole body was like static, and I looked, and I was like, oh wow.
I know. Like I noticed during the first bit of our conversation, like all of a sudden our sentences were very structured. It's like it evolved. Like so what's alive in me right now? I'm very excited. I was looking forward to this a lot. The potential of this. It's also a lot of dopamine that you get when you tell people that you're going to do something. So it's like a little bit of a trick as well. Your body's tricking you into feeling excited about accomplishments that have not happened yet.
Yes.
But I feel very grounded, slightly anxious.
Where's that anxiousness coming from?
Wanting to show up for you,
Hmm.
wanting to like there's obviously an like I'm exposing myself the same way you're exposing yourself, and like opening this door. I'm sure we will go into places where we will talk about things that we haven't necessarily talked about, like either with us before, maybe not like with other people. Like in a therapy context, everything is very cushioned, and you have like
Yeah.
this safe bubble. And when you are opening up the safe bubble to other people as well, that will. I mean, that's obviously like it's a good kind of anxiety, but I just want to acknowledge that because it's not. But like a big part of it is also truly showing up for you in the right way, and being able to hold space and being present, like a big theme that I have. And that's in there. And it's also a lot of centeredness. I'm feeling very grounded at the moment, which helps.
The time we've known each other, you've been there. You've been present with me, so I
Make it very easy.
I don't have a worry there.
To make it very easy. Cool. Do we want to start a little bit and talk about the beginning of our journey? It's like what, and when we say beginning of our journey, we mean like, how did you frame it? Like the beginning of the journey towards self-awareness, towards growth, you defined it in a few ways, and we had a few questions like that we occasionally can go back to if we want to. But like, hey, let's start with you. What started you on this? Like, what were the inflection points?
I think to start off with, I have to talk about the first moment, and I think I was not given the tools or the mechanisms, many of the mechanisms to survive or thrive in this world from a young age. I think that, and from there, you kind of are battling. Every moment is kind of a struggle. And I think the older I get, the more I unlearn some of those behaviors, the more I reflect.
What kind of tools?
I think one is self-love, something I've struggled with a lot. I would say two big things for me is one is self-love. I'm not good at all. And one is the fear of abandonment. So those two kind of compound each other and very much. So I think over the years, I've learned to soften. I've learned to love myself a bit more. And in that way, just be more open to the world and frame things in a positive way. And then suddenly you're looking for the positive things and suddenly the world is just brighter because of it.
Yes. So you would say the start of this journey starts in childhood.
Yeah. Maybe for a lot of people, but definitely for me. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there was one moment as well with one relationship 2 years ago-ish where I just broke, like shattered into pieces, and I could not just pick myself up and carry on. And that moment I had to look and be like, some of the choices I'm making are not sustainable. And I needed to be broken enough where I couldn't just carry on.
So it was like a proper destruction in building yourself up.
The breakup, I think, lasted 6 months, you know, and you just, and piece after piece after piece. And at the end, I just was like, I have nothing. I felt just so like all of me was gone. And it took a long time to realize that was an opportunity to build myself in a better way and to choose better things and responses.
Did you have points of growth and self-awareness before that, though?
Yeah, I think
you how old are you now?
32.
32. So in your early 20s, like, was a moment of like growth where you felt like stepping into a power, which was basically a different chapter, I guess, right?
I think yes, but it was so unconscious and so reactionary that it wasn't a habit. I think that's the problem. I had moments, you know, I had moments of real clarity, but because I wasn't in a structure of like safety, I wasn't in a structure in a good place in a number of different areas, those small moments petered out very quickly, you know, and because there was no structure around it, because there was no general safety and space, any moment of light got snuffed out quite quickly. And I feel like only now can those moments become a habit, become a reality.
So after the breakup, what happened and what made you grow?
Well, I think the idea of just looking, I think I know someone said to me that a relationship takes two whole people. And they said that both of us together wasn't even a whole person. I heard that from someone I love, and I was like, whew! I was like, ow, that hurts. But I was like, I love you, and I know you love me, and I've got to sit with that, and I've got to take apart that, because I know you're not trying to hurt me in this moment. You're trying to really give me something to think about. That was a hard one to take. That was needed, but and after that moment, I had to just sit down and be like, okay, how am I screwing myself over? What things am I doing that's actively just destroying my life?
Do you feel whole today?
No. but I'm getting there. I feel so much more whole than I did 1 year ago. Like you're saying, big moments of growth in the last year. And then the last 2 years, I feel, whereas a fraction before, I'm getting close to being whole now. And I feel that.
It's very nice. So this is very relieving that you look back on like 2 centuries.
Yeah.
Times like, no, is it decades? Not centuries, right?
Decades, 10 years. Decades. Centuries is 100.
No, 2 decades.
I keep extending my life, giving me wisdom that I don't have.
But I think it's beautiful to look back and see like, oh, actually before that, I was not really growing.
Yeah.
It was more like, how did you frame it? Occasional moments of light.
Yeah, just like in this dark room, little like embers that were just snuffed out because they didn't have the fuel or the space for them to ignite properly. Yes. My room was dark,
Yeah, oh man. I mean, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
What about you? Where did your journey start? What were the moments that you can pinpoint?
Also early childhood. I left home when I was 15. So
same actually.
Yeah. And I tried to show the world that I was worthy. But like back then, I started boxing when I was 16, and then the physical athleticism came into play, like trying to have a place in the world and learning how to be good at the first jobs and like dominating at work, trying to, when I say dominating, I just mean throwing a lot of hours into it and just like showing myself, like showing my worth to the world by improving how I work, how I'm more productive. So that was like early 20s, like extreme focus on how can I be of use to this world. And self-love and self-acceptance came. Like I didn't really think about it in my 20s. You know what I mean? Like I don't. Like if people would tell me this, I would roll my eyes and move on. It's like there was like, no, absolutely don't get me this.
Yeah.
Even in my 30s, like real self-love and self-acceptance came very late. So, and I think I did a lot of self-improvement over the years to have a place in the world, to be a partner, to be like, there was no structure to it. There was moments of light, as you would say, but there was no real reason like, this sounds like a good topic that I could get myself into. But like, then it was not really any purpose. It was more like, this is what people have to do. And I think this happens a lot, that the self-help industry is like based around like, oh, you're not good enough. You're like not good enough and you need to fix a lot of things. And then here are the tools and this is how we make money. My first breakup that was significant was in 2010, and afterwards I started meditating. Just to like, back then I used Headspace to just try and get into it, and all of a sudden I felt like this spaciousness that I never experienced before. Just brief moments. I went deep into meditation for a few years, like did Vipassana, and like tried to establish a practice that was going a little bit beyond that. Then I got a little bit more into like, tried to understand more about Buddhism, threw it away again, and just took the meditation, went back and forth. And then the actual real inflection point was a little bit more than a year ago, where I went also through a lot of grief. And I realized like after a while that it was not really grief about like a past relationship. It was, I was covering up other stuff.
Yeah.
I was covering up that I'd never really thought and dealt with my childhood, that I never have grieved that part of my life. I was like,
that's done, right? That's finished. That was ages ago.
Don't need to do that anymore. And also like whenever a therapist or anyone wants to go there. You're like, yes, well, it's fine. It's like good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm like a healthy human being. It was like, and you never even think about that this will leave traces in your behavior and like your triggers and everything. And only after I got rid of quite a few behaviors and addictions and relationships, and I really stayed by myself for a while, like more than a year, I realized like, oh, like there's things that I've been using to cover up feelings that I didn't want to deal with. And that was the first moment when I actually felt like I was actually arriving at like actually taking care of this complex human being and looking after myself properly. And because I realized that a lot of my hidden things are affecting day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
Every moment, like how I perceive myself, how I show up to others, what agitates me, what doesn't bother me. And I'm just like, this was the first moment where I realized, oh, there's more work to do. Read a few books that we will at some point talk about that really helped me. And I feel the real journey has only started like last year, like in summer. Like the real journey. Everything before was kind of like doing stuff, also for the purpose of doing stuff, but and also to be seen as someone who does stuff. So it's like you want to be perceived as someone who is like taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
More than you want to actually take care of yourself.
It's a huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to be seen to be doing well in kind of every aspect of your life.
Social media doesn't help there.
No.
But I cut a lot of things out, and by now I'm doing like whatever I'm doing to grow. It's like I actually want to be happy. Like I want to be happy. I don't care if people perceive it as like healthy, not healthy, or something. I mean, I do care, but like generally, I care more about the idea of like how can I really arrive and how can I feel centered without being distracted all the time. It's like left, right, do this, do that.
Yeah.
And this is this is a new chapter for me that I really, really fucking enjoy.
So easy to be distracted, isn't it?
I know.
And there's so many things that can leave you just not being alone with yourself. And that doesn't give you the room to self-reflect, evaluate anything. And that happiness is a huge thing. I think a lot of people who knew me growing up would be like, oh, it's Jolly. You know, even with a name like Jolly, you have a certain weight and expectation around you. And I would not want to add to the sadness of the world ever. So I would I remember someone, a dear friend of mine who's been there a lot with me. And I turned around to him one day and I was like, I've been really unhappy for quite a long time, you know, that was hard. And he was like, you know, I don't even think I can picture you as unhappy, because I would just put a smile on. Doesn't matter how I felt. Doesn't matter what I was doing. I would just smile. And that hit me hard.
It's like, you can't play the role forever.
No.
It's like,
and you don't allow people in. You don't, if you're only showing happiness, you're not allowing people to be there for you.
Yes.
You're not being vulnerable, so people can't help you. People don't know they need to help you. So much of this is like, it's in relationships as well. It's like, you should know what I need.
Yeah.
You love me, so you should know exactly, tell, like, learn to be a better communicator, you know? And through that, people can begin to understand you a bit better.
Are you now better at receiving help?
Yeah, getting there.
What were the chapters too? Like, because getting help is a whole different.
Yeah. I think obviously the first one is admitting some kind of fault or problem or something, and that comes in a number of stages. I think you've got to, one, be aware of the problem, which some people aren't even aware of what they have and what they don't do enough, like inward looking, or maybe they want to smooth it over. So it took me a long time to realize that I had things I need to deal with. And then it's just expressing them. Because if you've been holding them in for so long, they don't come out easily.
I mean, the way you frame it, you said like admitting that you have a problem.
Yeah, okay. That's a
Yeah,
weird.
you know what I mean? It's like, now it starts, because who wants to do that?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that. So, I mean, there's stages to it. When
Mm,
you are deep into alcohol and it affects your, like, hypothetically, if it
mm,
affects, you are a father of five and you're deep into alcohol,
mm.
you're about to lose your job, I would perceive that as a problem that you probably need like more immediate help with.
Yes.
Maybe. I'm not an I don't know, I'm not an expert, but it seems like it.
Yeah.
While a lot of our behavior is probably more accepted in
Hmm.
society, which you would describe as like problematic. But I think it's useful to look at whatever state you're in
Hmm.
with a bit more gentleness and care. It's like, you're a human being who tries to figure shit out.
Hmm.
It's fucking complicated. It's like, we got like our brain who's trying to predict the future, learn from the past, making all kinds of assumptions what other people think,
It's
and
hard.
it's
It's
and
real
then
hard.
man, you fall in love and you learn that other people can't read your mind. It's like, it's madness, and it's
Hmm.
like we're giving ourselves like a lot of problems to figure out. And when you say like you have a problem, just just an observation,
Hmm.
do whatever you like, but having a kind language towards yourself helps to
Man,
be
that's
more.
so good, isn't it? It's so good. And it's so hard. I remember telling someone, it's like, I'm broken.
Mm,
And that I still feel that. I'm
mm,
trying to move away from that, but I
mm.
still feel broken.
You're very whole.
Thank you.
You're very whole. It's
I'm learning very slowly to accept that one simple fact. Just even, I respect you, I love you, I respect other people, I love them, and they believe that of me.
yes,
And you can believe in someone else's belief in you way before you can believe in yourself.
yes, 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 yes.
That's a good place to start.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Coming back to the question, it's like, how do you like your path towards self growth and like self awareness and growth? What kind of help did you accept?
In the beginning, obviously nothing, no one knew it was a problem. And then eventually just telling people how I was, how I felt. And then that took a while to sink in because I'd been masking for so long. We're talking
Mm,
like maybe late 20s. So we're talking like all of my 20s pretty much and all the rest of it. And so by the time people heard, this was a big surprise to a
mm.
lot of people, even people who were close to me.
But did you know yourself?
No, that's a good question. It's so hard because we don't have touchstones. You know what I mean?
Mm,
If I knew your childhood throughout the beginning to end, I would be able to judge your childhood to mine and we could start seeing some
mm,
differences, but I had no idea, I think, most of the time. Like, I
mm,
just knew this is how I felt.
mm,
And actually, I, my, I have a lot of emotional dysregulation, which I've been taking antidepressants for. And since then, I've felt so much more space and room to
mm,
feel. I feel like my emotions before were here and I would oscillate on a daily basis between many points. And now I feel like my emotions are here.
mm,
And I've had comments like, you're so much funnier, you're so much more proud. Just because I don't end the day exhausted. I
mm,
don't end the day just completely out of energy, just trying to smile through everything.
mm.
It's such a burden to bear.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
So you talked to friends.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
What other help did you accept or learn to accept?
I think there were the basics, which not really learning to accept, but self-acceptance, maybe like exercise, eating well, sleeping, habits, these things, like
Mm.
the
The
self-acceptance there.
external help, basically. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think the external help, that's something I have to think about. I think that as soon as I told people, then we could start having conversations around it. And there's been a few people in my life who who have really then taken that mantle up, you know. Like, you're very good at that. Like, you just check in at points, and you're like, you just send messages, and you're like, I love you. And that's it. So I just wanted to put that there. And however you're feeling, like someone just touching in with you, asking how you are, and people did that. And I think that was the first level of acceptance of help that I had, was people checking in, because you don't check in necessarily on someone you think is doing well, but if you know,
I think checking in on everyone at all times is good.
Yeah, I agree.
I made it a habit at some point to, when I think of people, I let them know.
Yeah, it's
like I actually try to get rid of the stigma of like that. I'm only asking people how they are when they're good.
Yeah,
when they're bad, or when they might be feeling bad, because that will just add pressure to it. Like, I like to check in on people just randomly out of the blue, even if I haven't talked to you in like 2 months, because I like this is what I call poking the universe, and it's just like putting energy out and trying to. This is just kindness to me, and I like certain aspects of like having technology available to do that without. Like, it takes 20 seconds to make someone's day, maybe, and just like put out good energy in the world. You know what I mean? Instead of, we reach out only usually when we want something, or when that's a very transactional thing.
It creates weird dynamics.
So when I check in with you, I don't think you might be needing help. It's just randomly to be like, hey, I hope you're well.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I've actually started doing it myself. I've just message people now occasionally being like, I love you, or I'm thinking of you. And I think you prompted that, so thank you.
Oh, that's so kind to say.
I really, really appreciate,
That's so kind. Thank you.
You're welcome.
External help. At some point, would you like to do therapy?
So I have, I've had 2 therapists. I've had a psychotherapist, and I'm moving on now in the NHS to group therapy and another psychotherapist, and then maybe I'll continue down that path. I think that therapy is a whole minefield, in that even, choosing a therapist is difficult. Having, the money for therapy, if you're not doing it through the NHS, there's another difficulty added. Being honest with yourself. Your therapist generally can only pick up what you're putting down.
I know.
If you weave a narrative, any narrative, then that's what they have. I mean, maybe they can see through it, maybe not, but they have one moment with you a week, or one moment a month, and they have to divulge through that everything.
I mean, yes. I know. So I've been doing therapy in 2 different formats for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I noticed that for a long time it was almost performative.
Yes.
It's like I have my life in order, and like when she was asking, like, do you want to talk a little bit, or do you try talking? And you're like, it's fine as well. Did this happen? In like matter of fact way, no emotions whatsoever. And I was like, also physically shutting down. Like I was like physically putting a barrier in front of that. And I want to also remove the stigma from therapy a little bit while we're at this, because I think it's an important part of the journey towards like everyone. I really believe that it should be widely accessible for everyone. It should be a thing that people don't perceive as something is broken. I go to therapy very happily, and I have never been happy in my life.
Yeah.
I've never felt more centered than in the last 6 months.
Everyone can gain from it.
Yes. It's like, and I still I love to do it. I know it will benefit me years in the future. And at some point I will become one, I feel like there's a big value in it. Like, even if you're doing well and nothing is broken, you have a big stigma that you need to fix all the things. And like when you have a broken arm, you go to a doctor and they do something, and then the broken arm gets healed, and then you walk out. And for some people that's totally okay, but I want to also help to remove the stigma, because it just helps to talk to someone who unconditionally just lets you be.
Yeah.
Because I'm very sure that therapists can see through the performative stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
so how are you doing? I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Great. And they're like,
Yeah. Keep telling me how good you are. You know what I mean? Like that.
Exactly. And there's like the no judgment there. It's like, it took me a long time to talk about my childhood.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I think a good therapist will be able to give you the space to just do whatever you want to do here. Maybe this is just a transactional exchange of like, okay, you want to just deal with your relationship and you want to have a few better tools to communicate better. Cool.
Yeah.
That is possible, but I really believe that more people should interact in in conversations that are, well, just people hold space for you so that you feel seen.
Yeah.
And I've talking about my journey, this has definitely been the biggest growth of my life. Like to have, and I'm looking back on this now, I see so many more patterns where I became more open. And it's just because someone was there to fully receive me, didn't judge, even though I said some weird ass sketchy shit over time when I came with like ideas about how the world works and how other people are behaving and why are they behaving like that. And just love and compassion with spaciousness without trying to fix anything. And I think that's the most beautiful bit about like therapy. Like there's also people who do psychoanalysts and all this, which feels very brutal to me. It's like
Even the name, right?
It's like, okay, I read a few things. I'm like, this is not gonna be helpful for me. But like, therapy has definitely been a big. I would be interested, like over time as well, to hear you talk about the group therapy thing, because I would be interested in like how does it work with like a range of people, and I want to also learn from this. Maybe not in this format, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to hear more about that.
It's new. It's been offered to me, and I accepted it, and I've never done it before. And you go get it fixed.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with someone, like a friend, and we talked a bit about why that is. You know, what is this? And I think there's so much like focus on individualism, particularly in the West, in this country. And I feel like we feel like our minds are ours and our bodies move us around. So we'll get our bodies fixed, you know what I mean? But anyone doing anything with our minds, we're suddenly like, wait a minute, you know what I mean?
That's mine. That's my thoughts.
We're so precious about it. And then I agree with you. I think every single person can like benefit from therapy. Every single person.
Yes.
And I think you'd have talked to me like 3-4 years ago. No, therapy, no way. And that's how I was brought up.
Yeah.
I was brought up where it wasn't at all even an option. It was for the weak people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's wild to me now. You know, it's very easy to look back on some of your behavior and be like, that was not a good thought.
The thing is, we have defense mechanisms towards it. Like by now, it's like when I was growing up in an environment where talking about emotions was not necessarily like on the agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I understand you grew up in a very similar environment. When you learn that, when you get that, in some cases, beaten into you, that it's not relevant how you feel, then you will grow up and be like, oh, no, my feelings, like I'm a functioning human being. It's like everything's fine. We don't need to do this because it's behavior that helped us in the past to be successful. Survivors. Right. So, and I understand this stigma, and I also understand that whoever I talk to, like whenever I ask, like even in the I try not to push people like at all, because it's like everyone should do everything in their own time. But whenever I ask, like, have you thought about that? I get a lot of reactions of like that this feels like too close to home. It's like because then you're going to talk about the things that brought you here, and you don't want to go there. Like, and I can really reassure everyone who might be seeing this at some point in the future. You can take your time.
Yeah.
You don't need, you can talk about how things are at work and all the safe things that you can bitch about, like in your everyday life as well, and slowly step towards, with a lot of grace and patience and love too, because I didn't do that in the beginning. And it pushed me away from therapy for many, many years, to be like, just the thought of needing to confront that.
Yeah.
Like, it seems still to this day, when I think about certain things, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I feel like a very confident, well-centered, like established human being in this world, but certain topics just make me like, no.
Yeah, like
we're not doing it. And it's fine. It's absolutely fine once you know it, but like, no therapist ever will push you to do things or to talk about things that you don't want to talk about. You can talk about the weather, work, how the relationship is going, and then slowly over months and months, triple, like maybe you'll never go there, and that's also fine. It's like, and I love the humanistic therapists call it unconditional positive regard. And I love that. It's like, whatever you do, we just hold space for you here.
Yeah.
And you can be whoever you want.
You're seen, you're heard, you can express yourself. These people don't have like networks that are similar to yours, so you feel free to talk about things.
Yes,
you know?
I actually, so it's funny that you bring this up, because I realized that I had also, like, while I was trying to find therapists that I'm working with now, I did a few trial and error things. And there was someone who I met when I was in deep grief, and I could just feel that she was overwhelmed with my darkness. Like, there was so much. There was professionalism, extreme professionalism.
Yeah.
But that person was just not, like, there was no personal vibe. Like, finding a therapist, like a person who you vibe with, you mentioned this before, is so important, because at the end of the day, like, you should be able to converse. And that person, like, we didn't have a good vibe. And I was able to step out of this after like 2 sessions. I said, like, this is not, 2 or 3, it was not working. And
good. That's not easy. You know what I mean?
But it felt like it's useful also to know, like, you can, like, not just because there's a professional who's very good at their jobs doesn't mean that they're right for you.
No, yeah.
Yes, and like, and in that moment, I felt like, it's also because there was an age difference, and I felt like in my head I was already shutting my barriers, because I felt like kind of superior. Then I had a lot of grief, and I was not able to hold space. Then a person was overwhelmed with me, and I'm like, that's not working. So find the person you really want to work with.
I mean, if you felt like you were overwhelming someone, you would then suddenly maybe feel a lot more conscious about what you're sharing.
I mean, right.
You're there to share. This is what,
that's the whole point.
Yeah. So if you're feeling restraint in that area, and I mean, to flip that around, it must be hard as a therapist, right? Just taking on everyone else's grief, everyone else's darkness, that has got to be hard.
Yes, I know.
I
know. Let's talk about challenges a little bit for our journeys. Like, what were, like, on the beginning of your journey, what were challenging emotions that came up? What were challenging, there's probably also aspects about yourself that were exposed that were challenging. How did you go about that, and how are you doing that today?
In therapy, or just in the beginning? What do you think?
Just in general. Therapy might be a part of it.
I think in the beginning, just my emotions were all over the place. I think that was something that I needed to. That the only thing that's actually helped me with that was been 2 things. One is exercise, and one is antidepressants. I've never had anything else help me with. I mean, you could argue sleep and diet has a knock-on effect on them. So
body, focusing on the body,
100%. And then, so the emotions were just all over the place, and that was stopping me from doing so many different things.
What kind of emotions?
For me, when I was young, it was anger. I was like, I had buck teeth, I had long ginger hair, I went to an all boys school. I would get in fights every single day. I was so angry and so loud, and there was so much violence in my past anyway. So I remember the first day of secondary school, the sixth form, the highest year, just said something to me, and I just immediately started a fight with them and immediately lost. And then that didn't, like, they just literally were like, what are you doing? And just like put me up against the wall. But I never learned. I just kept get back up and kept like, no, I will not submit. I will not. And anger just drove me when I was young, you know, and I was so furious the whole time. And I think as my anger softened, it's just been replaced with sadness. And apparently it's emotional growth, so we'll take it. You know what I mean? Like,
It's not a bad thing to see it. Because I think anger is mostly covered up sadness.
Oh yeah. Anger just clouds everything, and once that's removed, you can actually start to deal with things, you know. And a lot of self-deprecation, a lot of like, it's always been, I was super competitive, always in anything that I did, always, like you're saying, worthiness, trying to prove yourself. So then nowadays I find my mood, even on the other side, like oscillating to extreme euphoria, you know, and that was often too much. That was like, I'd make really dumb decisions in a lot of different ways, you know. And when I was up, I was like, yeah, everything's possible in this. And you'd remove some of the constraints that are perhaps helpful in life.
So what kind of emotions were you trying to avoid?
I wanted tranquility. I wanted just something that mimicked something in the middle. I was so fed up of having extremities of happiness and sadness and just like mad imbalances, you know. I wanted to just live in more of a middle range of emotions, because it's just so exhausting being like, I remember like there's so many times during each day where I'd just be on the edge of tears and I just couldn't do it. Like I remember at one point someone like picked up keys that someone had dropped on a train, and I was just nearly in floods of tears, and I was like, fucking hell, I have no impulse control, like zero impulse control. That person did it like one nice thing, and okay, it's a beautiful act, but I was gone, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not a way to live life.
How is the anger affecting you today?
Oh, I'm rarely angry ever now. There are small moments. Members of my family can make me angry, but even that I'm dropping, you know, slowly. I think there's a degree of acceptance that I've given in that's nigh impossible to make me angry now for any person. And I think that there was, there's been a stage of like lots of anger, then feeling a lot, then trying to repress a lot, but still feeling a lot at times, and then more of a smooth path now.
Did you feel that anger now found different outlets?
I feel like I don't actually know what's happened to it, if I'm honest.
Or the sadness finds different outlets.
The sadness.
The underlying sadness that caused the anger
Yeah. I think that slowly, even day by day, making myself into the person I want to be, doing the things I want to do, looking after my body, being conscious around the people I spend my time with. We talk a lot about what we consume in terms of food, but media, songs, people, everything, we consume all of this. And if we have a lot of darkness in our life, or a lot of negativity, or a lot of things that, you know, these things all impact upon us incrementally and can leave us in a space where we can't cope.
Yeah, I know. Anger has been an interesting one for me over the years. It's like I reproduced a lot of behaviors over the years that I learned from home.
Oh yeah.
And in not the best ways. And like I never felt like there was rarely a way to, like, I wasn't aware of it at all for like my 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I was in hospital because I broke my hand because I punched a door frame.
Mm.
Broke my hand like in multiple places. And it's like today it's like I'm seeing this with a lot of compassion for like just a kid who
Mm.
was overwhelmed
Yeah.
and didn't know how else to act. And there has been also situations in the last few years where I got overwhelmed and just became angry, and I can see the triggers for it, like being really out of my control, like
Mm.
in early days. But like anger has taken me through a lot of my like until my mid 30s,
Yeah.
where I was like occasionally it came. I couldn't really explain it. I hated myself afterwards for it because I like to be a balanced, good person,
Mm.
but I never even really know like, oh, this has just happened. But
Yeah.
I never really questioned it. And like looking at anger as covered up sadness is a powerful sentence. Just as like there's a lot of sadness underneath. And it's
Yeah.
like this, it's you, and we're just it's a it's energy that's coming out
Mm.
and in ways that we don't really like. We're never angry, and afterwards we're like, that was a good one. That was a really good. That was a really good outburst.
Yeah.
I'm really proud how I showed up there. It's like
Yeah.
it's always like a little bit out of our control, and it's like I think everyone has it.
Mm.
Everyone has it. It's like
Yeah.
it's not like I still have it somewhere. Like
Mm.
and I notice it like when I haven't slept much.
Yeah.
I get agitated way easier. Like, and
Mm.
there's like I'm closer. Like, what happened to when the person picked up the keys? It's like there's a thick skin that we have, and sometimes for whatever reason it gets quite thin on certain days. Like I
Mm.
notice, for instance, like when I train chest in the gym, and I come home from a really hard chest day, and my heart is open.
Mm.
Like I am like sometimes I'm cycling home and I'm crying. Like and
Mm.
for reasons that are like maybe on that evening I feel a little bit like exposed and like craving some intimacy or something like that. I don't know, cycling home and crying. But by now it's more like, oh, this is coming up. And it's
Mm.
very nice. This is actually the biggest, like for me, that's the biggest step of the transformation, like in the last 6 months, is to be really in touch with what is coming up and the emotions and like, oh, I'm experiencing anger right now.
Yeah.
And it's not like I am angry.
No, you're
I
experiencing it. It's a nice differentiation,
Yes, it's
isn't
like,
it?
oh, there's like sounds of cars coming by.
Mm.
There's anger passing by.
Yeah.
And like,
Because it doesn't root you in the emotion.
yes,
I like what you said as well about the body holding emotion. You
Yes.
do chest, you release something, you get
Yeah.
it. Like the body, we can often think of like emotions and the body as like separate systems
Yes.
almost.
Well, they're not.
No, that's
No.
wild, right? We're one thing. We're
Yeah.
not.
And one thing causes like there's a lot of like even like how I don't understand how all this works, but I just know that by now I really understand that my emotions and my thoughts is not it's not a fact.
Yeah.
It's not the truth.
No.
And when I was grieving really heavily,
Mhm.
that's all. Like my body was consumed with grief.
Yeah.
Like everything, like my actions were consumed by grief because my thoughts were consumed by grief. Like everything was just tainted by this.
Mm.
And once you become aware of like, oh, this is like, okay, today's a day where it's becoming a bit challenging, but you become a little bit more an observer.
Mm.
But that like took like I had a lot of help with this.
Yeah.
Time helps as well. Like in certain like in being in a period of my life where this was possible because I was alone was really helpful. Because as soon as you are consuming things,
Yeah.
relationship, media, basically not be alone with your thoughts. You will never you will never pause and be like, oh, today I'm a little bit disappointed. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's like for me now a space where I want to just step in more and more. Like I want to stay in this place where I can observe. My therapist calls it sitting with the fire. And I think it's beautiful, like because over time I realized like first of all, I was never able to sit with the fire,
Mm.
like to just sit there and experience. Okay, today's a sad day.
Mm.
I don't need to fix it. I just need to let it move through me and like accept that it's there
Mm.
and just let it pass. It's just like cars going by. You know what I mean?
It's there for a reason,
Exactly.
isn't it? It's
But what we mostly do is we not
Run
just
through
sit
it.
with the fire, we run through it, and sometimes we run through it and we throw gasoline on it.
yeah.
We are like, oh yeah, I'm the loneliest person in the world. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
No, you're not. You're like absolutely like you're making things dramatic.
Yeah.
You're actually not sitting with the feeling. You're just identifying with the feeling and then make it worse. And you're like going into it, and it's a safe space. I totally get it. But like coming back to anger, it's like when you're angry, you have lost all awareness.
Yeah,
of like
you're out of control,
you're
right?
basically. You say shit that you sometimes regret literally after the sentence.
Yeah, you feel it immediately. As soon as it leaves you, you're like,
this so wrong, but I can't go back now.
yeah.
but I mean, that's beautiful to hear also from you. It's like that anger has been covering up sadness,
Oh, yeah.
and that you over time now have realized like there's probably different outlets to this.
I wanted to ask you actually, like, what? So we're talking about anger. I wanted to ask, like, how much of that has been impacted, do you think, based on the fact you're a man? Like, what relationship does that have to you being a man and to being angry? How do people perceive you? Or, like, what interactions does that have?
This is a heavy one because one of my triggers is when people tell me that I'm violent or angry.
Mm.
And I've shown up in the past as angry and violent.
Yeah.
That can be anything. That can be emotional violence, physical violence. Unfortunately, the standard of violence was put at such a high level that whenever people tell me, it's like, you are being angry right now, all my brain can do and think about is like, you have zero idea what anger looks like. Because and this is like a childish reaction inside of me, not a child, like a child reaction in me that says like, don't you dare. Like, don't you dare, because like, I might, like, there's not a lot of self-awareness in it. It's like a direct trigger. And me personally, because I've been exposed to violence in a way that I don't wish on anyone.
Yeah.
And I feel in that moment so unseen, because the kid that is still in me somewhere is like, no. It might still not, like, objectively looking out, it's not okay for me to in any way harm anyone.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot of regret for situations in the past where I didn't show up like the man I want to be. Like, as a centered human being who's like able to watch emotions as passing things and let them move through you, but not react to them. I want to accept them, but not react to them. And I think as a man, as a centered man in my 40s, I want to be able to not budge anywhere. Like, I want to be like just fully grounded in one space and be able to take whatever there is, and I want to feel things fully, but not react to them.
Yeah.
Like that's, and this might take me a lifetime. That might take me a long, long time, but that's where I want to go. And it's like, I think that's a very personal observation, because I don't know, like, how is it for other men, but I think just generally anger is not something that it's very accepted as. And usually when we see someone being angry, I see it by now because I see it in others. Like, when I see behavior on the street, or people not showing up in the best way, or like being very full of themselves, I see the pain underneath.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm like, oh yeah, someone needs a hug, right?
Comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Again, like, these things are not just isolated. We need to take them in the context of what's happening. And like, there's always like if there's something going wrong, there's a problem. There's a chain of events. There's something that leads to
And
it.
often it's not in their control. So I see
Yeah.
a lot of, like, I see people with a lot of, like, even people who are actually showing up like absolute assholes. I see with a lot of compassion, because I'm like, all right, well, like, you doing okay?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not their fault. It doesn't make things better. I still judge people. I still find some people horrible, but like the idea of like trying to just be like, anger is covered up sadness. It's like, or when you're being a dick in traffic or whatever, I try to perceive them as like, hey, like, doesn't make the day better, and I might be upset for a second, but I try to remind myself, it's like, okay, you don't know anything about this person.
Yeah.
You don't know what maybe their family is like suffering, and maybe their father died last week.
Yeah.
And like, you know,
you have no idea,
you
right?
have no idea. And I think that's beautiful. Like to like just acknowledge that people are able to be faulty. But unfortunately, when we are angry as men, it's not necessarily that's the first thing that people think. And because there's also a lot of stigma just around like mental health in general with men, and you need to have your shit in order. You should show up like a certain way. And I agree with that. But like often the compassion is missing, because not a lot of people think, like when someone cuts them off in traffic, the first thought is like, you're a cunt.
Yeah, immediately you're judging this person in their entirety, right?
Yes.
For one action, one moment, one thing.
Yeah, I know.
I like what you said earlier about having experienced a lot of violence before, so you have maybe a different threshold for what that looks like.
And that's not healthy. That's not, like, I don't like that I have that. Like, because
I understand.
It's like, it's not something that it's not natural to look at aggression of any way and then say like, no, that's still cool.
Yeah. You're like, that's nothing. Don't worry about that. That's not...
No, I know. And it's like, I actively know that this is a trigger for me, and I still, like, I will figure out over time how to work with that and like come to the place, because I'm not thinking I'm an aggressive person, but there's still fire in me. That is like, it's very rare now, but it's not, it will maybe never disappear in my life. You know what I mean? And like knowing that and being humble about it, instead of saying like, oh, I'm fine now. Fuck that.
Yeah.
That will take me a while.
And I very much relate to that wholeheartedly. Like when you experience the violence, whether you do it as a martial art or a form or it's just in your life, there's just moments. And I felt the same feeling. I was like, he hit him, but did he really hit him? Like how hard was it? Or like someone's punched me before and I'm like, you can't throw it. Like what? That's nothing. Like you just brush it off because you're used to a certain level of violence. Yes. And anything below that doesn't meet the threshold for what you perceive as violence.
This is an important bit, because we talked about the beginning of our journeys. Violence or abuse can take many forms that we often don't think about. Like, so I started mentoring an 11-year-old last year in summer. And for that, I had to do like a lot of safeguarding training.
Yeah.
And they tell you before the training, before one of the specific sessions where they went through all the types of abuse, that some of this stuff might be triggering, and if we need to step out, we can step out. And I'm like, well, it's like, this is a training, there's a lot of people here, I will be fine. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then I went through the session, I'm like, oh, this ticks a lot of boxes. I didn't even know there were boxes. You know, like, because like they teach you about, like, there's emotional abuse. Like things that we think of abuse and violence as like you come to school with a black eye, which is like the extreme form of like physically being hurt.
Yeah.
But neglect is like, it's like, and I went through that safeguarding training. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, and I look back at my own past, and I realized like there's a lot. This is what I understood now why I could step out. Interesting. Yeah. Yes. It's like, very triggering. I want to emphasize this, that being, first of all, it most likely happens to everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think it happens to people who grow up with the most loving parents who pay a lot of attention to how they raise their kids and are there with extreme presence.
Yeah.
And it might be that you look after, like maybe you give your kids so much and then one weekend you're away and that can lead to trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, it's unintentional. I try to look at this with a lot of warmth, and like, it most likely happens to everyone at some point that they went through experiences in their childhood that are not even, maybe not even caused by parents. Maybe they're caused by siblings. Maybe they're caused by wider family.
I think a bit of everyone though, like, because like you said, no one's perfect.
Yes.
No one's perfect in any moment. And even if you're too kind for your kid, maybe you don't prepare them for the world. Or there's infinite possibilities, right?
I think you can't be protected from trauma.
No.
It's like you will have it one way or another.
But there is a spectrum there.
Yeah,
there is a huge spectrum.
100%. But I always think like because I like that I now have a mindset where you can, like, if you told me, it was like, hey, Florian, you need to live on the street. I'm like, okay, I know how to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, I learned a lot from it, like from my past. And I'm very happy about it because I know a lot of people who would be fucking terrified being thrown out. You know what I mean? And like being like, deal with the world alone and do that. So I have a lot of gratitude for this as well. Every coin comes with multiple sides. Like, so.
Yes, I couldn't agree with that statement more.
Yes, it's like, I'm very grateful for my past. It's like, it's not that I push any of that away because it wouldn't allow me to have a life that I lived that I'm very, very grateful for. So it's like, but just to emphasize again, it's like trauma in the past or any kind of, like, whatever you experience in the past will affect how you show up today, how you feel today, how you are handling yourself, how you feel pain, and it will not be something that you can ignore.
Not, you either grow from it and you learn to get stronger for it, or it's forever that kind of chink in your armor that if someone touches that spot, then you react.
Yes. Oh, I learned a lot about this.
Yeah.
How about so this was a little bit like the beginning of our journey.
Yeah.
How about we move on to the last part, which is like 2 bits. We're not, I'm mindful that we are also on for a little while longer. Let's say we do the second part where I basically confront you with something. Not confront you, where I invite you in. Where I invite you into something and we discuss this a little bit, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to achieve in the next 4 weeks.
Sounds good.
Cool. Can I get a little bit of water?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's about ASMR.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. So those were some emotional blows, but I feel good with it, you know, from both sides, hearing it from you, connecting to certain things, feeling them with you, feeling some shared things, like talking about these heavy topics there feels like a bit of weight on me, but I also feel so good with it, you know, like that weight's okay.
It's good.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Oh, I feel less anxious than I did in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, it's very nice to go into this and just also be free flowing. I love how we had created a lot of structure and we basically took nothing.
yeah.
Or like
we touched on
bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So it's good to prepare, but it's also like we learned from this.
Yeah.
Like to have just more of a the jolly flow. Okay, let's take a moment. I will ask you an emotionally charged question. And what I'm asking you is to not answer right away.
Okay.
And to sit with it for a little while. And then whenever you are ready, So take all the time you need. It doesn't matter if it needs like a minute or 5,
Okay.
but like try to just let it sink in and don't try to answer with your head.
Okay.
Okay?
I can do that. I hope.
I know you will. At this point in your life, what do you really want?
Okay. Oh. Okay. I think one thing, I mean, we've talked both about being kicked out very early, and I think one thing that forever I'm going to strive towards is a home, like a loving and safe environment. That for me has always been top of every single list that I would ever create. I think, I think I love the people in my life. I feel so fulfilled with the people around me. My job, I have some work to go there. My home and my own kind of safe space that I feel is completely mine. I feel like when people hold certain things over you, you forever feel like you're not able to be free or not able to relax. And if your home is not a safe environment, you can never truly let go.
Your home is also tied to your work, right?
Yeah, they are very interlinked. And I think now I want to grow and like you said, you know, you're a father without children. I want a family, necessarily a family being a family of choice as well. You know, those around me, I want a space where I feel proud of. I want a space I can invest in. I want a job I feel proud of, a job I can invest in, a job where I feel valued and I feel well paid and I feel comfortable in. And I think all of them come as kind of one package to me. And I feel like I'm in the place because I made some dumb decisions in my past, you know, based in being reactive and based in just like spending a lot of time traveling and just running away from things. And that doesn't help you create or build a future. And I suppose I just want to invest in myself and my future and my life and a space and somewhere I want to just welcome others, you know, and just be proud of all of that.
Is it a physical space or is it wider than that?
I think the physical space will give me the mental space. You know, your exterior can often reflect on your interior, and just having that. Yeah, I think the day that I get that safe space, I am going to cry a lot. Like a lot. That will be like a moment of tension that I've been holding for most of my life. Yeah.
And it will happen this year, right?
It will happen this year. I believe it. I know it, and I'm very excited.
What are you secretly waiting for?
Secretly is an interesting one. The first thing that came to my head was love. That just popped straight into my head, and I was like, interesting. What, and why, and where? And I think very much in a romantic sense. I think I was raised on Disney and these things and lots of anime, and so this idea of love is kind of a bit fairy tale-esque in my head, and in reality, how that combines and contrasts can often leave you, in not a good space. So I think I have certain ideals that are maybe, as you know, like in love, that I want to find and live in maybe a more divergent, different way. And I'm just waiting to, I think, secretly just, and because I have this, I'm loved by my friends, and I feel so supported and loved by my friends. But I think romantically, I think I want 2 whole people, 3 whole people in a relationship, whether in a throuple or just a normal relationship, then both of those, and feel that feeling of just someone being there for me and not leaning on me and me not leaning on them, and just having, I've never been in a relationship where I've been on antidepressants. And I feel like I'm just so much more in control of my own emotions. I have so much energy, so much more to give, and giving that won't deplete me. So, yeah, I think being in a loving and healthy relationship, which I don't think I've ever been in. And I think I'm definitely part of that, and, like a big part of that. And I feel like I'm getting to the place where I could be there.
Where the full relationship is more than one whole person.
Oh yeah, that would be the dream. That would be the dream.
So a home and a relationship.
Yeah.
Last question. What do you really need to hear right now?
Interesting. I think that you believe in me. I think I know it to be true, but having someone physically say they believe in someone, that hits hard. And I feel like that's something I've maybe been lacking in my life.
Do you say it to yourself?
No. That's a good point. That's a good point. And that will happen from now on, when I have the moments and the space and the time. Because like with self-love, love starts from the inside. Belief starts from the inside.
It's so easy to say that theoretically, right?
Yeah, right.
You're like, I know how this works, and then like day to day, you're like, fuck you, guy.
Yeah. I don't have enough self-belief. I've been forever striving for it. And I think the whole family and the home thing ties back to being a man as well, in the sense that there's still a sense of being a provider. And if you can't provide, who are you? You know what I mean? That hits so hard. And and I think I think a society views men's life as less valuable than a woman's. And I think we tend to not believe in men as much as we believe in women, just as a whole, not specific parts, like the interactions just day to day. I think women will be kinder to women, men will be kinder to women as a whole. There's a whole nuance there, but I think men can often be very cold and confrontational to other men, and women can often perceive men as invisible or dangerous, just for their own safety, which, is a whole other topic. But I feel like if you're perceived as invisible or dangerous, and there's that masculine competitiveness with other men, there's not that level of belief, that level of, you've got this, and just someone looking at you being like, I believe you're going to succeed. And that's a lot.
I noticed just now that this was one of the first times where you, like the emotion is strong, and I can feel that because you were talking about society, the whole, and men and women, and not about you.
Yeah.
And I can sense that. Jolly,
Yeah.
you deserve a home.
Thank you.
You deserve to feel loved, not just by people like me. You deserve to be loved romantically as well. And you deserve all the compassion also from yourself.
Mm.
And I am so excited to watch from over here, like how you will get your home
Yeah.
and you will have that moment where you arrive on the next chapter.
Mm.
And I'm like, yes, you need to get a few things like rolling for this and like
Yeah.
think very practical about things. And like, and I'm happy to support on this because I want to be an artist in some ways, but I'm actually quite a corporate whore.
It pays the bills more than being an artist.
It pays the bills, but like I'm happy to like offer my like some of my resources, which is my thinking, and like help you with this. But like what I want to offer you more than all of this is like me believing in you and trusting that you can do way more than you think you can do.
That one, yeah. That one, thank you.
3 questions were only. I'm really looking forward to next time to sit there and do the opposite.
I'm excited.
How are you feeling now?
Yeah, good. A lot. Good. Not a lot.
I know. Do you feel comfortable to close out, talk a little bit about like actionable things that we want to do until the next 4 weeks, or do you need a minute?
I think if you start, that will give me the time that
Yes.
I need to
Yeah.
collect.
I will also need to collect because I actually have. It's funny that I wrote the structure and then I've not really thought about it much. So let me share and give you a little bit of space as well.
Yeah.
My goals for until like I don't have New Year's resolutions, but I put like my life into chapters to look back on. And one is from mid-January to mid-July. It's 6 things that are more broader, and then I will translate this to the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
My number 1 goal is to learn how to be fully present. Really be present. Breathe through the front of my body. Breathe fully. Learn that things are just passing experiences you can notice, not run after everything.
Yeah.
Be fully present. Second is figuring out how I'm doing men's work. This is one big piece of it that I was really looking forward to.
Yeah.
Maybe doing other bits, but I will definitely engage more with men's work and trying to support more men to step into their power and be present. Third is flirting with the world.
We've talked about this. Yes. I like this.
You're just poking the universe, seeing what happens. It's like I started approaching attractive people now like directly instead of I'm not on apps anymore. And it's like it feels like a playful, beautiful, not needing anything, just being like poking the universe. I call this like flirting with the world. The fourth one is keep the exercise, but actually exercise less than last year. So like I want to tone it down a little bit, become more effective, and just not throw hours at the problem, but just it's funny. But like one thing ties to exercise for the next 4 weeks. Let's get to that. And the fifth one is making art.
Yeah.
So we met through this, and I'm really excited to do more things this year. And the sixth one is connecting with my sister, because I need to deal with my own trauma before I actually am able to help others. And I feel like connecting to my family, and my sister is the last bit of my family that is still there. And it's like there's a lot of, my body doesn't want to go there, but I want to show up and be a brother and learn how to do that. And now this is like for the next 6 months. For the next 4 weeks until we speak again,
Yeah.
I need to fix my sleep. I would love to, like, as a commitment. At the moment, I'm sleeping 5.5 hours per day on average for the last 4 weeks or so. And I would like to bring that up to 7.
Yeah. That's a huge thing. And that's that's an impressive goal, you know.
Yeah, and that means that I need to change a bunch of things, evening routines. Like, I don't have a problem with screen time at all. Like, it's incredibly low, but I just need to change things and just be more committed. Like 7 hours of sleep, because it's like, I know that life quality just increases massively. And it's like,
everything.
Like awareness, I'm just being more aware when I sleep more.
Yeah.
It's just natural.
Yeah.
I keep going to the gym. I go 3-4 times per week at the moment. This is like just a normal, I want to do this. I want to keep reading every day. Almost every day. And then the fourth one is like just mindfulness and just actual meditation, because it serves my overall goal of being more present.
Yeah.
So like, I'm much better at it now in everyday circumstances, to just learn to be fully present somewhere and like check in with myself. And I enjoy my commute. I don't go out with music in my ears anymore. Like, I'm fully there.
Yeah.
I'm not on my phone in public, but I would like to just have a deeper practice. So like, but just sitting, and I don't care how many minutes it is, but I want to sit every day, like on a little cushion, sit here in my space and just be fully there.
Yeah.
So that's the 4 things that I want to do for the next 4 weeks. 7 hours of sleep, keep the gym. I forgot something. No. 7 hours of sleep, keep the gym. I read and meditate.
Yeah, and be present.
This also, I want to be clear about this. If none of this happens, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's not like it's self-help, blah, 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 blah.
This is a journey.
It's a journey, but like, even if I move 5% more into 7 hours of sleep, then I'm already feeling better. Because I know I don't feel great when I don't sleep enough.
Yeah.
And these are simple goals to just lay a foundation for other stuff. So because over the next few months, there will be other things that I need to look at. But I want to have the foundations in place with better sleep. And like a lot of other things in my life, like gym is a routine already that I've been perfected, but I just need to keep it. So it's not a big ask for me. But reading is also not a big ask. I'm doing it, but the sleep and the meditation is like something that you need to hold me accountable for.
Sleep and meditation, 7 hours. Yes. I will do. I'll check in, like maybe once a week.
Yes.
Or not specific times, but I'll check in a few times over the month, and we'll talk about it.
Your next month.
I love that, and I want to just reflect a bit. I love that sleeping 7 hours. You know, that's a really beautiful goal. Being more present and having reading and going to the gym, like, I love it. You know, having these crazy, amazing, lofty. Get the basic stuff right. Get your foundations right. Everything will build from there. You know.
I mean, to be very honest, my foundations are fantastic. Like, I've never felt more like centered, but
they constantly need to be maintained, though,
exactly,
isn't there? There's no like
I'm this close. Like, if I stop going to the gym, I basically lose my friends, my job. Like, I'm getting kicked out of the country. It's like it's an all downstream effect, you know. What about you?
I think I'm going to throw a lot into one for the first one, and try and break it down into something a bit more achievable. Like just devote time to myself and my growth and development. And what that means is I've come off the apps as well, for different reasons, just because they're a bit of a time sink. And dating, particularly early, is a time sink, and it's expensive and drains you emotionally. And I'm just going to become the person I want to become, and the rest will come later. And that's going to be hard for me. Maybe I'll re-download them a few times. Maybe I'll come away. We'll see how that works.
Can we, like, this could be a good commitment. No apps for the next 4 weeks.
No apps for the next 4 weeks. Okay, I've got none on my phone. I will have none for the next 4 weeks. Okay.
But this is more like a defensive goal, like what you actually want to do.
So I'm going to invest time into four things, particularly. This project I would like to invest time in. The project with Nicoletta, I'd like to invest time in exercising a lot more, and I'd like to invest time into painting, and just keep them as regular chunks of day. And what I'd like to take away from is a time on apps, time on my phone, time, and I'd like to put them into the time where I spent doing things for myself, you know? I'd like to replace those two with each other.
Can I come back to your home quest?
Yeah.
Nicoletta's project will help.
Yeah.
What else will help you on your quest for home?
I think I've started thinking more along the lines of teaching art as well. Because surprisingly, being a teacher for 10 years, an artist is 13, I've only just started teaching art. And there's a great deal of like imposter syndrome in there. And I've always loved it, and I've always kind of shied a bit away from it. I was never formally trained in any way. And, you know, I dropped out of uni for it, and there's a very deep feeling. But yeah. And it's strange to feel, I mean, maybe it's not strange to feel such an imposter from the thing that you most believe in yourself to label as, and most people see in you, and you still don't feel like you're there, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah, I feel like I've got to invest in teaching art and then kind of getting a few, because the job front, I'd like a few different bits and pieces. I think doing one thing 5-6 days a week, I'd like to have lots of little bits that make me happy. I like diversity in life. I like doing a lot of different things.
So what will happen in the next 4 weeks that will, on that area? Because like I hear that you're making more time to do all these things, and that I love the commitment of 4 weeks without apps, because it's like, that's how it started for me. It's like I started with a time frame, and then it just stayed off.
Yeah.
Just like very nice. But removing the distraction, focusing on yourself to do like then you have space, and you have a goal of like wanting a home for yourself.
Yeah.
That means creating resources. And like, what will you do in the next 4 weeks that I can ask you in 4 weeks to, like, is this at all related to resources, or is it too early, or is it more about the discovery of?
Even before that, I'd like to have built the thing with Nicoletta, have the website up and running. I'm trying to have that up within a week.
Yes.
And then I'm trying to have it into a beautiful, thought about project that I can invest not only my time in, but my heart, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about lots of ways in which to add senses to it and really make me feel like I'm, you know, project made with love and made with care and thought and really like, so over the next 4 weeks, I suppose I'd like to have that project up, running good, at least enough of no, I'd like it up, you know what I mean? Maybe not hugely fully functioning and everything like that. I think that's very achievable.
Anything else?
Exercise. I was been a bit on and off with my routines, and I think I'd like to get to the point of exercising. And I've been doing a lot of arms recently, and I'd need to diversify that a bit, and kind of give myself a nice structure of maybe I've got some ideas. Like, I know how to exercise, but I've only been doing arms, and I think I want to look after all my body and do like a whole range. So I'm going to start maybe exercising 4 or 5 times every single week, giving myself 2 to 3 rest days. Nothing crazy hardcore, but just
4 to 5
consistency.
times is a lot. Well, especially when, I will not influence this. Like, you will do.
I don't do loads. I do like 2 sets a day, 2 small sets a
You do
day.
them at home as well.
Yeah, I do them at home.
You're not going to places like
No. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll do like, I've been doing a lot of push-ups and a lot of like curls and a lot of this. So it's not, and then a bit like a session of 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. So it's not like loads of time.
Yes.
But it's it's been good.
What, like, maybe as closing to close this, what do you want to say to Jolly in 4 weeks?
Ooh. I suppose little by little, you know what I mean? Take the next step, just focus. I can often be very lofty with my ideals and my dreams, and my everything can be like over here and there and that. And I'd just be like, just take a step and another one and another one. Just keep moving in a direction and you will get somewhere, you know? I can often start like 4 or 5 projects and not really finish any of them. So just keep moving. Pick something, just move forwards.
I love that. It's very gentle.
What would you say to yourself in 4 weeks' time?
What do I need to hear in 4 weeks? Play more. It's like, I don't want to become rigid in my, like, I want to be more, like, I love the idea of flirting with the world and talking to the universe, because it's more of like doing things without having an outcome in mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I want to become more fluid. I'm very German in my things. You know what I mean? It's like, you learn about this in the preparation. I'm like, chick, 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 chick.
Structured, ordered, efficiency.
And I'm good at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it pays the bills. And it's like, generally, I'm very appreciative of it. But I would like to just go out of, like, and play there and like, oh, what is this side quest about? And like, interesting. What is this leading me to? And like, explore a little bit and like play a bit more and be less. Like, my goals became way more lofty and like unspecific. Like, becoming more aware. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there was a time when that was very measured, and I'm like meditating how many times per day. Today I'm like, no, just sit every day. Do a little bit of this, like, and if you don't, it's fine. But I would like, in 4 weeks, I would like to hear that becoming playful is actually a good thing. Maybe we can do this for each other.
Yeah, that would be nice.
This was very fun.
Yeah.
What did you learn today?
When you said, you know, do you tell yourself that you believe in yourself? That was a lot. And that was something I'm going to take forwards. I think that it's all very well getting external ideas of things, but if it's internal, then you have something you can always rely on. Maybe you don't always feel it, but at least it's, you know, it's not based on time frames or people around you, or there's less like extraneous things. You are with you. Like, you know, that was a great thing to hear. And that's just something I learn and something I'm going to action. I learned that we have a lot of similarities as well, which is nice. And it's going to be lovely to explore how we dealt with them and what we did.
And how we did it very differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe next time we will talk about a addictions, right? I
Yeah.
think that would be very lovely to explore, like what addictions are, what they are not, like that there's also stigma around them.
Yeah.
Like I would love to dive into that further. What really touched me today was when you said you were very angry, but it was just a lot of sadness underneath,
Mm.
and I could like I that hit me hard because it was that was my past,
Mm.
and it's still there with me. So there's some sadness, and sometimes when it's not felt rawly, it's like coming up in other ways, and it's like so. I very much appreciated you for that as well. It was a good few hours.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you very much, Jolly.
I love you too. I feel very. There are some people you meet, and you're just like, yes.
Yes.
You just
Like, yes. Yes. I felt that when I entered your door there. That was like, I'm like, yes, this was the good hug. Good hug.
Yeah.
How do you want to close this?
I think just I love you, and that's it. I think that encompasses a lot.
I love you, Jolly.